Hey, good people. This is Friday, July 3rd, and I'm working from home today, so welcome to my living room, and this is the Daily Word in the Crisis. I want to begin with Romans 13, starting at verse 11. Do this, knowing the time, that it is already the hour for you to awaken from sleep, for now salvation is nearer to us than when we believed. The night is almost gone, and the day is near. Therefore, let us lay aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. I need to warn you before I go any further that this is really kind of a rant today. I'm kind of filled up with some fire, so you're going to put up with me. As we entered this season of crisis, the body of Christ was pretty much sound asleep. Way too comfortable. Too easily compromised in too many ways. Some of us tried to warn about what was coming, and we called the body of Christ to wake up and prepare for it. But we went largely unheeded, and we knew it was going unheeded even as we spoke it. For too many people, it just didn't seem urgent. It didn't seem real to them in a time of prosperity and ease. And now we're looking at a 3-alarm fire that caught us with our pants down as a body of Christ, unprepared. First, we got hit with a pandemic, fanned into a panic by the media and by governments interested as much in control as in real public safety. Second, this was followed by a collapse of the economy because of the draconian lockdowns that were supposed to protect us. Third, and finally, riots, arson, and murder in the streets of our major cities as racist hatreds and radical left agendas that had been smoldering for decades burst into full flame. Lawless people took advantage of it to destroy our monuments to our nation's history, to ravage businesses and neighborhoods, to face government buildings, while murder, rape, and vandalism ran unchecked. Where was the body of Christ as all this began to unfold? Where was our voice? On the whole, we've been lying down. We've been sheltered like sheep in a storm after decades of listening to messages of hyper-grace, lulling us to sleep through a diluted gospel that hasn't demanded very much of us. We've been too tolerant of moral compromise and a lukewarm devotion to Jesus, who, by the way, sacrificed himself for us in a not lukewarm, radical act of love so that we could be better than this, so that we could be more alive than this, so that we could be more empowered than this, so that we could be more prophetic than this as a people in a dying culture. We've been pretty much asleep, never really asking why we're not doing the greater works than Jesus did that he promised we would do in John 14. Not seriously asking why signs and wonders are not common occurrences in the vast majority of our churches. Not seriously concerned for the lost people around us that we see every day who are headed for destruction without Jesus and who need the touch of God right now in their hurting lives. Too much. We've been absorbed in self-improvement and entertainment under the banner of Christianity. We've been arguing among ourselves about whether tithing is New Testament while Muslims take over entire neighborhoods. We've been fighting among ourselves over fine points of doctrine while the world around us just hungers after a simple touch of God and a sense of hope. Now the alarm's gone off loudly. It's time to wake up and get out of bed, but we have to wonder how many of us have heard and how many of us have chosen to wake up. How many churches are still waiting for the government to give them permission to open? You might ask, since when do government edicts supersede the commands of God? And how will we respond the next time the government demands that we compromise in some way? How many really believe and are willing to walk in the promise that those who have believed will lay hands on the sick and they will recover? Or do we really believe that promise enough to act on it? How many realize how much of this pandemic crisis is calculated from the perspective of the enemy of our soul to keep us out of contact with each other and with other people that we might touch for Jesus? Wear that mask. Keep 6 feet away from one another. Socially distance yourself. Stay at home. Don't touch. And it's okay to protest in a crowd because that's meaningful. But it's not okay to meet as a church, to gather in the Lord's name. That's somehow not as culturally relevant or meaningful. But we were built by God for corporate worship. We were built by God for connection with one another, to hug, to touch, to bear witness to those who need the touch of Jesus. Where were we as the body of Christ when all this came down? And where are we now? Where is our prophetic voice? Where is our prophetic voice speaking to the culture with authority? Where are the divine healings that should multiply in a time of extreme need and threats to public health? Why are we not like the early church in Acts 2, where everyone kept feeling a sense of awe because of the incredible love they shared and demonstrated, and because of the signs and wonders happening through the apostles? And then signs and wonders that multiplied later through the ministries of ordinary believers, according to Romans 12 and 1 Corinthians 12. Why did we just seem to roll over and submit when all this began? Why didn't our voices rise in a roar to proclaim the excellencies of him who called us, and to demonstrate those excellencies in acts of the Lord's power and love? How much authority have we surrendered because we gave it up or just weren't awake? When the alarm went off, how many passively went back to sleep or fell into a deeper slumber, waiting for a return to things as they were before all this unfolded, hoping it would all just go away? How many are still sleeping in, pillow over the head, waiting for a more comfortable time to wake up and get out of bed? But here's a prophetic word. As churches that have been closed begin to open, many people are going to return to church only to find that something has changed. They'll sense it, although they might not be able to define it. And part of what they're going to sense is that the Spirit has moved on. The cloud of glory has traveled, and too many have failed to follow. A message has been sent that things cannot be what they were. A call to awaken has been issued. The shape of things has already changed, and it will change still more as the remnant awakens and begins to move in power. What seemed to satisfy in the past will not satisfy going forward. It's like you went to sleep with what felt like a full belly, but when you wake up, you'll find yourself ravenously hungry, and you won't be satisfied with what was available before all this came down. It's just not enough anymore. It was like you were drinking a carbonated soft drink before all this came down and it had some bite. But when you go back, it's going to be like the fizz has evaporated and it's gone flat. It won't be enough. You'll sense something missing, and you'll be wanting something more in the Lord. You'll be looking for leadership that will take you there, and that's okay. Look for that leadership because it's God. The hand of God will be redeploying some of his people, perhaps a lot of his people, to places where the passion and the power have been flowing and will be flowing. I can't tell you exactly what all the changes will look like, because God's going to take us through it one piece at a time. If we knew, we'd muck it up. But I can say that some churches that have been large will suffer loss, and some churches that have been laboring passionately in obscurity will be lifted up as God redeploys his hungry remnant. And of course, some churches won't survive at all. In any case, the train has left the station. Make sure you're on it. And have a wonderful 4th of July. God bless you.